Hello, everyone. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. We are back. We're sorry we took a little bit of a hiatus last week, and I think a couple weeks prior to that, but we're back, okay? And we are going to be consistent. We promise you that, okay? Because what is it? It's Halloween time, all right? It's spooky season. It's October, all right? And we don't want to miss an episode with you guys during this wonderful time. So, with all of that being said, how are you guys doing? Jerome, how you doing?
Doing good, chilling. Uh just living life for the most part. That's about it. Yeah.
You live a very exciting life.
Thank you.
Alex, how you doing?
I'm okay. Yeah, I've been busy at work. It's been a little crazy there, but not horrible. My mom's coming up soon, so that's going to be interesting since I live in 125 square feet. I'm going to have her stay with me. It's always fun. And then I have Cheddar there back there.
Cheddar. He's in the shadows.
He likes staring at the wall blankly, which I find is actually quite soothing, and I've started to join him.
Just staring at the wall.
Yeah, it's gonna be creepy for when my mom comes, just in the dark, two people staring at a cat and a person just staring blankly at a wall in the darkness. But I think it's still gonna be fun to have her up here.
It'll be nice.
What were you doing, Jonathan?
I've been good. Just working a little bit. I went to Seattle last week. Back to Seattle. So we had a little dinner situation, and that was fun. We went to our favorite Thai place, and I went to the fair. I got to visit my parents, and yeah, had a good time.
Good.
I'm not a fan of the fair here, and I think, I always say it's too small, and people are like, "What are you talking about? It's all this stuff." I think y'all forget I'm from the Midwest, and like we for some reason do things bigger there.
I have nostalgia with the Puyallup. I know it's technically the Washington State Fair, but everybody calls it the Puyallup Fair. Because
is that a state fair?
Yeah, it's the state fair. It's the official state fair of Washington.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and they changed the name 5 years ago to Washington State Fair, when before that it was always called the Puyallup Fair. You do the Puyallup. And me and my parents, some years my mom would go, some years it would just be me and my mom. Some years my dad would tag along, and we would take the pictures, and they would make the button out of it, and we would always get it in black and white. And I have all the other pictures. I have 5 other pictures, and we did that this time again. So it's having all the pictures in a row. Yeah.
We used to do that when I was a kid too, but that was in the mall. They made that little square of plastic.
In the mall. What, the little photo booth stations, or?
It was an actual person taking the picture just in the middle of the mall. Now that I think about it, it's a little weird. But it was those round photos that kind of look like giant buttons.
Right. Yeah, those.
I think my mom still has them somewhere. I don't know if she probably kept them. She keeps all the pictures because she loves her children,
Well, Alex, would you like to introduce what we are going to be doing today?
Magic jar.
Another magic jar episode.
Which, if you think about it, this is actually a jar, by the way.
What is it?
It's a cup.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's just a cup.
Well, you just need to get a jar then, is what that means. To make it not a lie.
Why are you trying to replace him? Leave him be.
Because lie. He's a lie. He's an imposter.
We all live a lie.
So for the uninitiated, if you haven't listened to any of our other Magic Jar episodes, basically Alex has a whole bunch of topics that we've come up with in her Magic Jar, and she's gonna pull one out, shake it up vigorously, pull it out, and we're gonna discuss whatever topic is on the paper she pulls out. We don't know what we're gonna be discussing, but we will find plenty to say about whatever the topic is.
And due to the fact that some of the topics are smaller bits, we do pick out sometimes multiple ones. So
Yes.
Or sometimes we just quit. Last time we picked out a new one because y'all just ran out of steam and didn't want to do it anymore.
I believe
Wait,
that.
I
don't
can't even remember. What did we do last time?
I don't remember what the topic was, but we got a topic that you're like, all right, moving on. Like, moving on.
I think you started ranting. It probably had to do. I think you started ranting. We're like,
I refuse to accept that. I don't believe that's what happened at all.
it's more likely so what happened than not with you. Okay.
All right. Just pulled one out. Okay, she's unwrapping it.
Favorite animated film? What's your favorite
Oh.
animated film?
Neat. I have a few.
Is it
my
like,
list.
is that, are we considering cartoon animated or like animated as in like stop motion picture? Like define
Okay.
animation.
First of all, let's end this right now, okay? Because this came up in another podcast too. Anything animated is anything that's not live action. So if there's no real people in it, and it's got
So
whether that
cartoons.
be clay, whether that be puppets, whether that be
What about a flip book? Is a flip book considered animation?
Yes,
I think
that's
so.
like the most. That's the most rawest
animating-
form of animation. Yeah,
because you're animating it. It's even if it, because we always just think of animation
This
as
might have been
as
the
drawing.
thing that started it.
What, the
We
flip
might have-
books?
No, the asking what animation is.
Oh,
I'm ready to move on already.
because I guess when you're like, even with claymation and stuff, you're still animating it. You still have to animate it, claymation. But does anybody have anything that comes to mind at first? I mean,
yes, I have a couple different ones that come to mind immediately.
What?
Spider-Verse is probably
Alex, what?
I know.
What comes to
After I
mind?
said it, after I said it, I was like, why did I sound like I was so upset?
You
So,
tell me one. You tell me right now what
Well, 'cause I
what
was
comes
like,
to
it's-
mind.
there's definitely gonna be a comic one. It's not.
Spider-Verse is awesome. I love that movie. It's so good. And not only because it's really cool and looks just like the comic book come to life in a way that most even some animated movies have never gotten quite right. But it's also just a great story. Like that, the story in Spider-Verse is airtight. It's pretty solid. Also, love The Incredibles. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, it's a classic. I don't like the second one as much as the first one. I think it's because the second one just feels like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it has the same level. Because the first movie, yes, it's about superheroes, but at its core, it's about a dude going through his midlife crisis, essentially. And it's very relatable.
I feel like the first one also felt like more of an adventure, whereas the second one kind of feels like they are kind of having they're what's the word? They're kind of creating a storyline that involves more superhero cliches and aspects. But I like both. I do like both.
Yeah, I like Incredibles too. I you know what it is in my mind? I'm like, Incredibles 1 feels like it's a story about a family who just so happens to also have superpowers, versus Incredibles 2 feels like a superhero film. That's how it feels for me, and why I think I like Incredibles 1 more than 2.
I never saw Incredibles 2 because it has a lot of flashing, and I am photosensitive, and it can cause migraines to happen very badly, and that's when I have to shut away for 2 days.
Yeah, I remember before we got that. It was either before when we worked there.
I think it was after.
At the movie theater. Yeah, because I think
there wasn't a flash warning before, and then they had that whole.
And
but
there was like a whole controversy like online and stuff. People were like,
"There's like a whole scene where it's like blinking lights." I don't see how they didn't catch that before the movie released. Of like, this is probably going to set off some people who are sensitive to flashing light.
Yeah, I actually couldn't be in the theater because at the end of the show they also do that. They do the like flashing, mimicking what they had done in the movie. I couldn't be in the theater at the end of the film. I couldn't help people leave. And if I did, I had to have my back facing the screen. So anytime everyone's like, "Oh, can you go in the theater?" I'm like, I literally can't. That I genuinely can't do that. So,
I think from what I remember, I think you were like excited about watching the movie too, and then they came out with all that stuff, and you're like, "Oh, guess I'm not watching it."
I was until they're like, "Oh, it can cause epilepsy," and I'm like, or seizures, and people who are epileptic, or if you're photosensitive, don't do it, or light sensitive, and I'm very light sensitive. And then I was like, oh, because I think it was also we've been at like leading up to that, we had a bunch of like dramas or like that movie, like just films that I didn't want to see, so I was really excited to have a film that I could like go and watch and be like semi entertained by, because I hadn't gotten to watch any of the movies because none of them piqued my interest, and it's like, oh yeah, probably gonna trigger a severe migraine in you, which is great because everybody wants to vomit at work. I don't really have favorite animation films. I don't watch so many animation films. Like I can't really think of one that I'm like, yeah, this is my favorite animation.
I'd probably have to, and I'm probably gonna think of more once we get off this call, but the first one that comes to mind and is probably my most favorite Pixar movie is definitely Toy Story, the first one. I love 1, 2, and 3, but if I had to rank them, I'd probably rank them in that order. I like
1, 2, and 3 are the only ones that exist. That's the only story that matters, and that's all you need to watch.
I mean, Toy Story
1 and 2. I mean,
oh, you have to watch 3.
Yeah,
I think we had this conversation on a podcast.
Yeah,
recently.
and then I was like, oh, I heard 3 was sad, and then I feel bad when I'm not sad about sad stuff, and then you guys are like, oh, you don't have to be sad about sad stuff, and I'm like, thank you.
Just watch 3 because it's a good movie. Don't worry about the emotional part of it. If you cry, you cry. If you don't, you don't. Like
loss
at the end of the day, it's still like no, it's about moving on from your childhood. I feel that's at least what the takeaway I took from it, because mostly because by the time I watched Toy Story 3, I was going into college, or I think they've been my first year in college, so I could really relate of the idea of like kind of got to leave some of your childhood behind, move on. Now you're an adult now.
Have that much of a childhood, but moving from darker topics, I do love Woody. Because actually I was actually talking about Toy Story earlier today, because there's a coworker I have and he constantly says howdy, and today I'm like, hey, or I wasn't actually talking directly to him, I was talking to another girl. I'm like, oh, when he does that, all I can think of is that Toy Story scene from the first one where Woody's like, where's my hat, and then the shark pops up, I'm Woody, howdy, 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 howdy. And that's every time he does it, all I think is howdy, howdy, howdy. And I have to stop myself from saying that. So Toy Story, I mean, did have an effect on me, clearly, because I'm going around saying howdy, howdy to people. I guess Coraline. I really liked Coraline. I think that was
a good movie.
Coraline and maybe Coco. Coco I just liked because it was finally a Mexican, cartoon that depicted well of what Day of the Dead is.
You get another one that's not about Day of the Dead, but it's another like centric animated movie, but this time from Disney, not Pixar, called I think Encanto.
I was like, this movie, when is it coming out? Because I hadn't heard anything about it until like 2 days ago.
Coco's from Disney.
Coco's from Pixar. Because
they're like this.
Okay, Pixar's owned by Disney, but Pixar and Disney Animation are two different companies. They make two different.
But it's hard to tell nowadays because they're all the same style.
They're all on
because
Disney
they make
app.
family film. They make family animated films too. So,
I mean, like in the style of the animation.
Yeah, I mean, it looks all the same.
It depends, because
like, it is the same.
No, because let me tell you something.
It used to be different. I will give you that. There was a difference in animation. You could tell, like with Toy Story, that was definitely a Pixar.
Well, here's the thing.
If you look at Frozen, Frozen is not a Pixar film, but I feel like most people confuse it as one. because it's the same
You know what?
animation
I
as like
feel
I don't, because I feel like a lot of the lighting and textures are not as good as Pixar. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at it from a different lens than both of you.
Again, it's animation. There's no lighting. It's literally just drawing and shading.
That not 3D animation. What do you mean? There is light.
Are there actual like lights being pointed like a camera?
Mm-hmm.
How?
It's all digital, but it's like
so it's not like an actual camera or
it's still
actual
considered lighting because it's like you have to put in digital lights. Like I'm telling you, because I've done animation, like it's a whole other job. There's literally, in fact, if you look in the credits of any animation team, there's a credit for lighting specifically. Like it's a whole other job in the animation world. And just like rigging is too, which is essentially setting up like the characters' movements and skeletal structure and stuff before someone comes in and animates like their skin and hair and eyes and everything else. Like animation, 3D animation is super complicated. It's why I changed my major as soon as I tried to be an animation major, and then I found out how much work goes into 3D
But now
animating.
you're drawing an animation though.
That's different. It's a whole different other thing. It's weird. It's a lot to explain. We don't have time to get into it.
Nor do I want to.
What were we talking about?
I think Frozen 1 has very good animation. I will say that much.
Oh, it does.
And I think
it has very good animation.
Pixar was always ahead in its animation, or at least its 3D animation was always really well done. And I think where people think Frozen, sometimes the animation is more like Pixar because of the advancements of it. I will say that much. I liked Frozen actually because when I went to see it, I actually saw it with my big sister. We actually didn't know what it was about. We were just like, "You want to go see a random movie?" And we're like, "Yeah, it's about two sisters." Aw, so it was a nice moment I had with her. I haven't seen Frozen 2. Apparently, I'm not big on sequels. I don't go out and see sequels. Apparently,
I know a lot of people liked Frozen 2, but I wasn't too big of a fan of it. Maybe it's because I was late on watching Frozen, so I watched it like maybe like 3 or 4 years after it came out, and then that was right before the second one came out, and then I watched the second one, and I was like, I like the first one better.
I was born to Frozen 2. I felt like Frozen 1 was a very complete story, so to do Frozen 2, it felt like them just trying to, especially with the songs. You could really tell they were trying to have another Let It Go, but it's like Let It Go was a phenomenon in and of itself. You can't recreate that. Like that was like it's just like trying to make a viral video, you know? Like
YouTube, you should go find it. There's a one where I think the singer or a singer does it in every single language, the whole song, multiple
Let
languages.
It Go?
Yeah. It's gorgeous, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Let It Go was like its own, like you can't recreate that magic. That's its own, that's a whole other thing.
With every sequel though, like, but I will say I don't think the story was complete because I had a lot of like I didn't feel like it was complete because I would be like, oh, she's queen, but she hid away. Like she doesn't care about the people. So why was she staying queen? Clearly.
What do you mean she doesn't care about? She cares about the people.
Not really. She hid away. She didn't attempt to control anything.
Yeah, because her parents basically made her scared of herself. But it's not because she didn't like people. Like she loved people. She just was scared of her powers. So all her parents ever taught her was just to fear herself. Essentially.
Yeah, but in like that time frame, she can like get therapy or something, or like
I mean, listen,
hidden away. Like if you're gonna rule her.
You're talking about a movie where the main character is like, oh, woe is me. I don't have any friends. It's like, oh, so you were locked in the castle with your sister? Well, no, I could leave anytime I wanted to, but I just didn't for no reason.
Actually, no, she couldn't because she wasn't queen yet. There was somebody.
She doesn't have to be queen to walk outside.
They locked the castle doors. They blocked off the walls.
No, Elsa's room was locked. And even then,
you act
like Anna couldn't just escape anyway if she really wanted to, even if the doors were locked. There's tons of windows in there. This is the medieval times. You can't lock those.
You want her to scale a giant stone, or a wooden bridge?
We're talking about a person who, as soon as Elsa escaped the castle, she planned to go on her own into the wilderness with no weapons
So
and
clearly
didn't
she
find
wasn't
her.
very
So
bright, was she?
Scaling a castle is not even like in her purview of a problem.
So clearly she wasn't very smart. As she went out in the snow.
That's what I'm
in a
saying.
spring
Like, I
gown.
don't want to
you
see
think
more of
she's
these
gonna
characters.
get the clue of where she's like, yes, I can scale this wall successfully.
I'm just saying, this movie, there's a lot of devoid of logic in Frozen already, and you're asking for more for explanations where there are none to be had.
I'm just saying. My sister texted me. I want to make sure everything was okay. I get nervous when I see. There's that. I understand Elsa. When I see my sister's name, I panic a little bit. Love her, but this is a little bit. No, I think it was incomplete because it didn't feel like a completed story. I mean, it just kind of ends for me at least. Then
Plus,
again, I guess I just enjoy more storytelling, huh?
I always looked at Frozen as like a fairy tale of that, like, because most fairy tales have like open endings like that, like the way Cinderella ends is very open ended.
And they made two sequels.
No, I mean like the original fairy tale.
Oh, the original fairy tale. No, it isn't.
I mean, yeah, it's like she gets the prince and stuff like that. But I mean, like, we don't find out, okay, then how'd she run the kingdom? What was taxation like after she became princess? And all this, like, we don't need to know all that information. All we know, like, the story is over after she married the prince, the end.
See, that's why I couldn't get into fairy tales when I was a kid.
Because if we were to say that all stories that don't complete every bit of information until they die is incomplete, then we would never have a complete story.
And that's why fan fiction exists.
See, but
they get to write every single aspect of their life.
We don't need to waste no more money making extra movies when people who really want to know can make it up for themselves. And the people who aren't creative enough to do that can read what they made up and then just accept that as their own headcanon. I do that all the time. When I have like movies that I hate, but I like the idea, I'll make up my own movie in my head and I'm satisfied. That's all I needed.
Did you just admit to writing fan fiction in your head?
Yeah, all the time. I write fan fiction all the time. I just don't publish it because it's never good ideas, but it's good ideas to me. It makes me feel better. So therefore,
50 Shades of Grey was a fan fiction of Twilight. So whether it's a good idea or not, it still can be profitable.
and then that's when you get the fan fiction where it's like Cinderella and the prince had 5 kids and they divorced and they ran into financial troubles. And then Cinderella married a man who was twice as rich, and the prince married a man as well. And then we got in the stepsisters.
Probably where the version where well, the sisters died in the original fairy tale. Plus, but I like Frozen. People wanted more, and that's how sequels become about.
See, but my fanfic for Frozen was that Elsa just loses it and she kills everybody. All right, because that's where that story for me was headed. Where it's like, oh, so y'all like, because they hate her for no reason, just because she has ice powers, and then when she goes to by herself,
fear of the unknown. It's literally
I'm not done. The story's not finished. Then when she goes off on her own and makes her own ice capsule, she's like, you know what? I'm sorry, my bad. I'm just gonna live my own life. Then when they come and destroy her castle,
Jerome's fan fiction
after that, she should just lose it. She's like, okay, well, y'all won't let me live in peace. Now y'all ain't gonna live in peace. Ice powers go. And then she becomes the ice queen. And then Narnia happens after that.
But they actually did like her. They were just scared because they didn't know.
And now y'all gonna learn the hard way why you should fear me.
The only people that were really a threat were the people who were trying to overthrow her.
Yeah, well, now they're gonna learn the hard way.
So you want the slaughtering of innocents for the mistake of a few?
I'm just saying that made more sense to me in that story. It didn't make more sense for me for everyone to be like, oh, I guess she's all right. Like, nah, dog, y'all tried to kill me. Remember when y'all shot arrows at me like yesterday? We're not just gonna skip past that. Like, y'all didn't try to murder me. Like, are you serious?
Look, if we didn't skip past people trying to murder us, we wouldn't be able to live every day.
Did anyone actually say Frozen was one of their favorite movies, or did we just go into a Frozen?
Just on a
Look, we're just talking about Jerome's fan fiction of Frozen, and it's okay that he wrote fan fiction about Frozen in his head.
This is the magic jar episode. This is how it goes, man. Sometimes we get lost, we just go off. But no, I have more favorite animated movies too. Definitely love Redline, which is an anime. But if you've never seen Redline, that movie is awesome.
Okay. What favorite animation do you have that isn't based on a comic, superhero, anime, or like?
Why would anime not be like anime is original?
No, I'm just trying to break away from a topic with you. Trying to find something else.
Oh, that's easy. Chicken Run. Love that movie.
Why was I about to say that? I literally was about to say that.
Yeah, see, you didn't think I had any, did you?
No, I didn't. But like, also, I don't recall Chicken Run.
You know they're making a sequel. They're making a sequel. Yes.
I did not know that.
Like
that's
20,
cool.
however long years later. Alex, Chicken Run is a movie from like the early 2000s.
No.
Late 90s?
Because we've had this discussion. Nobody actually remembers the movie Chicken Run, but you remember the existence of Chicken Run.
No, I remember that movie very vividly. That movie is awesome. I remember the great scene when they're like, he's teaching all the chickens how to fly and stuff, and then they're using the catapults and everything. Like that was a great movie. And then when she's stuck in the like machine with the pie making machine, that's a great movie. I love that film.
I don't remember much about the movie, even though I had it on VHS and watched it a lot. But I just remember that they were trying to escape from, being slaughtered and eaten, and it was very funny, and it was a good movie. And she had that hat, that like red hat.
Yeah, she had the hat. I love the designs in that movie. Like all the chickens have very unique designs. They look really cool.
I should take a day and just watch all the movies I never watched in my childhood, like Chicken Run and Toy Story.
Also, it's a very underrated Disney film that people don't really talk about, but I used to love that movie.
What?
Treasure Planet. That movie was cool. I used to love that film.
What is it? Chicken Run, Treasure Planet.
Alex is just making a
Now, admittedly, Treasure Planet is based off something, but it's based off Treasure Island, which is a book. But it's
I've read that book.
Yeah, but Treasure Island,
it's like thick, isn't it?
No.
No. Treasure Island's not a very long book.
No, it's a little bit.
But it's Treasure Island in space, and it's awesome. I love the designs. I love.
Is that where the character's like a dog human hybrid thing going on?
One of them, yeah. One of the like side character, yeah. Scientist.
This still from that.
Oh, a lot of people have been petitioning for that to be made into a live action movie. And for Tom Holland specifically to star in it.
If I want to see those animal hybrid people like
I don't want
live
that.
action characters,
it's Atlantis. Atlantis is the one that people
I would watch.
Atlantis.
I've seen Atlantis.
I'd love to see Atlantis. I'd love to see Atlantis live action.
Not as a child, but I see Atlantis.
You know what? See, okay. Disney's wasting all their time remaking movies that we already like. Make the ones that we liked but didn't get their shine. You know what I mean? Do Treasure Planet, do Atlantis, do those ones. The ones that were like at the late end of the Disney Renaissance, so people didn't really watch them. Do those. Those are really good movies.
Did you just say Disney Renaissance?
Yeah, Disney. They consider the era when like Aladdin,
in the 90s,
because it was like a back-to-back. It was like Aladdin, Lion King,
Beauty and the Beast,
like back-to-back hits. I'm talking like millions upon millions of dollars of animated films coming out of Disney.
I was supposed to take a sip from the master.
Yeah, man, it was like it was crazy. So a lot of people consider that era the Disney Renaissance, where like they were just no one could touch them in animation. The closest was Pixar, which I think Pixar came like a little behind some of those movies when they come out with like Toy Story, and had like blown the world up, being like, oh snap, this is what 3D animation can be, like a whole movie. This is awesome.
So much.
Also, love Toy Story. Or sorry, not.
Are we going back?
I mean, I do love Toy Story. I was gonna say, thinking I was just Toy Story's in the brain. No, I love A Bug's Life.
Bug's Life.
That was one of my favorite Pixar movies too. I really enjoyed that.
What was that one that was like Bug's Life? Somebody mentioned that too.
Ants.
Yeah. Is that worth to be on the childhood video list?
I don't know. Ants feels like the Bug's Life for adults, because most of the jokes are for older people. Like,
right. It was DreamWorks. It was DreamWorks.
Yeah.
So they could have, because like if you watch Shrek nowadays, that has a lot of adult jokes in it. Mm-hmm. So DreamWorks was definitely less family friendly than, even though it was still family friendly, it was less family friendly than Pixar, Disney.
Now, I will say DreamWorks, I think what's interesting about DreamWorks is they are very good about making animated films that are actually really good, but they never get to the same level as like anything Pixar or Disney. Because like How to Train Your Dragon, pretty good.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, that Kung Fu Panda, all of them.
They
really
have a
good
comfortable
movies.
They have a comfortable level that they're at.
Mm-hmm.
They're like that student that they never stood out, but somehow they graduated with good scores. They're going to a good college. Nobody really knew that they were there, but they were doing so much good because these other two like motherfuckers were just constantly making noise, and then they realized, oh, that one was there. Oh yeah, no, I know him. He was like in everything. He was in every activity and everything.
Yeah, DreamWorks makes great films, great animated films, and yet like I don't like the people who've seen them talk about them, but the people who don't, like, they don't even know like how good it is.
I know. I need to like look up all the movies at DreamWorks because there's probably somewhat.
Yeah, I feel like there's a big list. Yeah,
I know. B movie.
What it is?
Over the Hedge. Oh my gosh.
Now, all right. I don't know if B movie counts for me.
I've never seen B movie, but I do know a woman wants to fuck a bumblebee, and I'm not cool
pretty
with
much.
that.
Well, yeah, I watched it on TV.
She
definitely wants to be in a relationship with him.
Isn't there like a scene that's very suggestive where she's like, "Follow me"? That's what I've been told.
I know they go on a date.
I know
for sure.
All I know is that's not going on the list.
Over the Hedge. I used to love Over the Hedge.
I liked Over the Hedge. It was. I don't know if I like loved it, but I did like it. I definitely enjoyed it a lot. I love all the character depictions for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the animals, and Wanda Sykes is the skunk. Like, she's great.
She was the highlight of the movie. Yeah. We also can't forget about Madagascar as well.
True.
I've seen that one.
I think Madagascar for me lost steam after the second one. Like,
I don't think I watched after the second one. Did I even watch the second one?
I didn't watch the third one really. I think I caught bits and pieces. Yeah, there's a third one where they're like at the zoo or whatever, or at the circus, like they meet circus animals or something.
Oh, is that the one where he's in the polka dots? I know that like bit there. Dun, 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 dun. Polka dots afro.
And then the penguins, they tried to keep it going with the penguins, got their own movie, but
yeah, and they had their own show, I think, too.
They did. And I did watch the show. The show was all right. The show was okay.
I think I watched the show when I babysat. I think I recall it. I didn't know there were so many other movies of it though. Also,
like going back to Disney real quick. Also, another movie that I'm like, man, this is the jam right here. Emperor's New Groove. I love that movie.
Yeah, I did. That was a good one.
That one was fun. I love that film.
A Kronk's movie now.
There's a Kronk's New Groove.
New
that was like
is not too bad. It's just not as good as Emperor's New Groove to me personally.
And they had the TV show Emperor's New School.
You know what?
Oh, I actually like that. I used to watch that.
You know what the thing about Kronk's New Groove, and it's the same problem. They do this a lot actually with anime movies, where they take the comic relief character and give them their own movie. And I'm like, no, the reason they work is because they're not the main character. So they're not around for too long. So the jokes land and they come in at the right time. When you make them the main character, it's never as good because all they are is a joke character. They're not meant to have any more depth past that. It's why Cars 2 didn't really work so well, because Mater as a main character. I never watched
Cars.
Don't waste your time with Cars 2. Cars 1 is all right.
I never watched Cars 1 even.
I think Cars 3 is the best one, probably, in my opinion. I like Cars 3 more than 1 and 2.
There's a third one?
I know. I was just about to say it. You know what comes to mind? And this is gonna spill into another one that I was gonna mention, but so I watched like a short documentary on YouTube. What's up with me and documentaries on animated or shows? But someone did a documentary on YouTube about Jimmy Neutron, and it started
about to hit Nickelodeon. Yeah, Nickelodeon's people.
And it started out, so they first released the Jimmy Neutron movie, and then immediately after that went into the show, and it was the first.
It was a movie?
Yeah, it was a movie first, and then they made a show out of it. after.
And the soundtracks, like the soundtrack for the movie sold like a lot.
Because the soundtrack is so 2000s. Like if you listen to the soundtrack, you're just like, oh yeah, I remember the 2000s.
And it was really interesting because it was the first show on TV, I think, to use that technology. I believe the 3D animation. I believe it was the first show to use that. I need to look it up just to
be quite honest, because I can't think of any other one. Like other shows had used 3D animation, but that type of 3D animation that Jimmy Neutron used, I think that was the first show to use that render engine the way it was done. Because like you had like Reboot and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but it never looked nearly as good.
Wait,
Jimmy Neutron.
Right. Jimmy Neutron was the first computer animated film to Jimmy.
Yeah, Reboot was all right cartoon. It wasn't great.
Jimmy Neutron was the first computer animated film to be created entirely using commercial animation programs rather than proprietary software, with most animation done using both Lightwave and Project Messiah. Don't know what half those words mean, but still impressive to me. So
I know Lightwave. I don't know Project Messiah. I don't even think they still use Lightwave now for like 3D animated shows. But they don't really do a lot of 3D animated shows either. I think Nickelodeon was probably the last bastion that was really like holding that down, because Disney's gone back to just 2D, but because you can do 2D digitally now. Because for the longest time, 2D could only be done on paper, and then like to take pictures and everything else, versus like now it's super easy to do it digitally. So now 2D's back in, but it looks so clean. Like it's why a lot of digital art looks very much the same right now, as far as like the colors and how it looks. Very rarely, I think the last thing I saw that was super unique, well, Cartoon Network is still kind of trying to do unique things, but DreamWorks Animation Studio, they're still trying to do some really unique stuff with their animated shows.
Did you find any more movies on DreamWorks, Jonathan? You said you were going to take a look.
Those were, I mentioned all of the ones that, like,
I mean, outside Shrek. You didn't mention Shrek, but
no, you did. Shrek was a
yeah, I mentioned it briefly,
and you mentioned it too.
When talking about ants. But Home with Rihanna.
I forgot about Home. Home just like came and went. It did not take off. And poor Rihanna, she has never been in any acting project that's ever taken off. Like
she was on Bates Motel.
Okay, that was like an episode.
No, she was in like 3 or 4 episodes.
Okay, that's still not the whole season. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like and even then, she was in 3 episodes of a TV show. Battleship didn't take off. What else was she in? Home. Well, Home did get a TV show, but I don't think she played the main character, like in the animated show that they made off of that. And that show went straight to Netflix at that. So
like how straight to Netflix right now is like straight to DVD.
I mean, it kind of feels that way sometimes because you never know what'll take off on Netflix, you know?
Yeah.
The
other one I was going to mention in like reference to Nickelodeon, the Rugrats movies. Specifically, my favorite is Rugrats in Paris.
I did like that one.
I think that one's my favorite. I don't like the other one more than Rugrats in Paris. I like Rugrats.
Isn't the first one where Dill gets born?
Yeah. First one's where Dill gets born. Second one, Rugrats in Paris, is when Kimmy gets introduced. and Kira. And then the third one where they meet the Wild Thornberrys.
Right.
And then
I love the Wild Thornberrys. That was good.
Say I also love the first SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Like the one that's just animated like SpongeBob SquarePants and isn't the 3D animation.
Not the one we
recently watched. Though.
The 3D ones aren't bad. I just like that, like the first one is, really quick, it feels like a SpongeBob episode. That's just extended.
The first one is good, but I'd like to talk about the last one we recently saw, with the fact that Keanu Reeves was like a main character in that entire film, as in a tumbleweed. He was in a tumbleweed And like I thought he was just gonna, I like that. I was.
You expected him to be like David Hasselhoff in the first movie, where he's just a cameo.
Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be a cameo.
That movie was just like there was one thing after another where you're like, what the hell's like,
all of a sudden they're doing like musical numbers and
they had the devil.
See, and that's why I like the first one the most, because I feel like the first one's an actual story. Like it has a beginning, middle, and end. Like there's an adventure they're going on. There's reasons for doing certain things. Whereas the new ones, it feels like it's just a collection of what fun ideas can we do with SpongeBob, which is fun, but it's not really a story. It's more just a collection of scenes.
I like how we
smashed together.
I like how we couldn't find the second one like at all. We tried to watch it.
Yeah, remember? Sponge Out of Water or whatever.
Sponge Out of Water.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
And we couldn't find it at all. They were like, no, let's just pretend this didn't exist.
Superheroes?
Yeah.
I've seen like the photo of it.
And at one point I was like, did I just imagine this movie came out?
No, I'm gonna
but
write
it
that
did.
Down. Sponge Out of Water.
Also, I wanted to mention also Warner Animation Group, because I love the Lego movies. I like the ones they made specifically, because you have to differentiate, because there's also like these straight to DVD ones that I don't know if it's like Mattel or whoever the Lego company is, like if they've made those specifically, but the ones that Warner Animation Group has made, like the official, like the Lego movie, and the Lego Batman movie, I like that one too, and Ninjago. I like all of them.
I like the Lego Batman movie. The Lego movie turned serious so quickly. And I was like, what the hell just happened? I was enjoying a Lego movie. Now it's like,
I like that though, because I felt like, because I mean, I was already enjoying the Lego movie as it was, with this idea of like, it's because I had a lot of Legos when I was a kid. So I used to play with my Legos the same way, where I'm like, yeah, I built a
Spoiler
robot.
alert if you haven't seen the Lego movie.
You know,
yeah, but I did too. I had like a whole like giant like bin, but I didn't use them to replace my father.
Well, I love that aspect of it at the end, where it really is like, you know, it tackles with the ideas of, you know, because there are a lot of adults who have toys now. In fact, I had a conversation with that about a friend of mine, where we were talking about toys and their place in the world now, considering most kids, like, they age out of toys faster because digital media is so like prevalent. And he was like, yeah, but you know, toy sales are probably still good because a lot of adults have toys right now. Then in fact, you probably have more adults that have more toys than their kids do. And so it's like, I liked that aspect of it, where they played around with the idea of like, for Will Ferrell playing the dad, he's like, I have my Legos and these are collector's items. You know, I'm trying to build a city, versus for his son, it's like, no, these are toys. They're meant to be played with. Like, I want to play. And
first off,
I like that clash.
First off, that conversation was with me. We were talking about Funkos and how people keep them in the box and are collectibles. And people are always shocked that I take them out and play with them because they are toys. That conversation happened with me.
This is true. They are toys.
They're toys.
You can't quite see Nightcrawler.
It looked like his face was
blurred out. He was blurred for
censored.
production.
He's censored. Like,
and I was.
He does not want to be on camera right now.
It was. Oh, and I got another one. Well, you guys, people have seen it in the Instagram. It's Venom. It's Bobblehead Venom.
It's Venom.
But
yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, Jonathan.
Oh, the song.
It was
that's the thing that I remember most about. I did like the movie. Anyway, sorry.
I'm about to say that's a shame if that's the one. That's the thing you remember the most.
It was the most catchy thing.
Look, it's all over TikTok too, by the way. Venom. No, because my sister had a coworker who was like, he collects them and he keeps them in the box. He never touches them because it's like, you know, value. And my sister mentioned that she takes them out and she places them places. And he's like, how could you do that? And my sister asked me, and I'm like, yeah, they're toys. This is a toy. I'm going to play with it. And I even was like, yeah, I put them random places around my house. Like, there's one I have from the Boondock Saints, and he's holding a little gun. I'll put them against like my plants, like he's sticking up a plant. And I get what you're saying, like with the toys and everything. It's just,
yeah. So I like that it went to that. You know, I just think about every Pixar movie. There's always that, like, but see, the difference is what Pixar does, like Lego Movie was like, let's have some fun. And then at the end of it, it was like, all right, but for real though, let's get serious. Versus Pixar
it was less about playing with toys and more about child neglect. Because you're hiding away in your basement and ignoring.
I mean, he takes care of his son. He just doesn't want his son to play with his stuff.
I spend hours in a basement crafting a city. Maybe I'll see my son at dinner.
But you know,
emotional
but Pixar's strategy is, nah, let's break your heart in the beginning of the movie and then, you know, have some fun after that. Because I still am recovering from Up. Like the opening sequence to Up, just you be sitting in theater like, I'm sorry, wait, how much longer of the movie we got left? What do you mean we got 2 hours left? I'm already crying. Like that was my experience watching Up. I couldn't do it, man. It hurt me in the beginning of the movie, and it just got started.
I don't know. They were old already.
I'm just saying, like, it's like you see this whole relationship and you're just like, oh, they're so sweet. Wait, what do you mean she's got cancer? No.
Well, she's old. Old people die.
I wasn't as affected as it because I had watched Up maybe like 2 years later, and by then everyone was already talking about it. They were like, oh, the beginning of Up just gets me. So I knew what to expect kind of going into it. And the first time I watched it was in German class, and I watched it in German, so I couldn't even like get the effect of it.
That tasted
I love the German language. It's so aggressive, and I love it. No, the movie that made me have emotions, ironically, was Inside Out.
That too. That also almost got me. I almost cried at Inside Out.
No,
that
I did cry.
Hit me.
Not the like it. Yeah, where she realizes that you need sad to be happy, and you know, vice versa. That hit me, and I actually watched it with my mom, and it was kind of nice because, as I've openly said before, I do suffer from like depression and other mental disorders. So it was kind of a nice show of like, yeah, I got little people controlling shit in my head. I have no control. They decide what's going on up there. That makes me sound like I'm schizophrenic. I'm not. That's not a mental disorder I have. But it's like that. It's just like you have to have one thing to have the other. So it was a nice mental health representation that it's okay to be sad, which is, you know, in our day and age, you know, it's always like, oh, you got to keep going if you movie. It's okay to be sad some days. So that was a nice little lesson. So Inside and Out got me. It hit me. I feel like it hit me below the belt. That got personal really quickly. I feel like that wasn't fair. Of course, I'm going to cry a little bit. But yeah, no, Up didn't really get me. I'm not really big, again, crier. I do cry.
You get emotional.
I get emotional. I feel the tightness in my chest.
Yeah, I get emotional. Same. I think the only movie I've ever cried, like as the movie was going, was and not because the movie's this emotional, but because of my connection with music, was Cloud Atlas. That the music in that movie is beautiful.
Is it an animation?
Just like, no, it's not an animation. Oh. It's a live action film. It stars like Tom Hanks and Halle Berry.
Nobody cares. That's not, no.
That, yeah, you want to cry? Just listen to the soundtrack of that movie.
The movie that makes me, I will like ugly cry. There's no control. Like straight up, like that's the most emotional I'll ever be in my life. Fox and the Hound. That movie alone, the thought of it, I get like already a tightness in my chest. That movie, anytime and even still now, if I try to watch it, that movie will just make me cry so horrendously, especially that one scene, which I'm not going to say because I will start tearing up. So that's an animation film that always like touched me, and it was always like, this is the one I feel connected to.
Funny enough, Disney always gets me because the one that gets me, Stitch, Lilo and Stitch. I don't know why. Every time I hit the end of the movie, when Stitch has to, I know he's not going to go with them and go back to his original planet, but it gets me every time when he's like walking away and he's waddling, and then he like says like Ohana means family, and then I just like I get tight in the throat. And I'm just like, oh, this is your home, Stitch. You need to stay here. Y'all can't do this to him.
Ohana means family.
The part that gets me, and going back to Toy Story, And we should probably wrap this up because I know we're
Oh yeah,
we can go on and
about
on. Man, I
time.
got so many animated movies I love.
We know you do.
I bet.
We absolutely
I got
know.
so many
we
that I
know.
love. I
We
love
know.
animation.
Go on, Jonathan.
The part that gets me in Toy Story 2, when Jessie's talking about how she got left behind and that Sarah McLachlan song comes on.
Oh no.
When She Loved Me, that just even
breaks your heart.
Thinking about that song,
breaks
I know
your heart.
that part. This is a toy. But I guess
how did we get here?
I know. I guess
there's so much emotion now in the room.
As a kid, you would think like, what would happen to my toys? Like if my toys thought this about me or whatever.
I do be thinking about that though too. It's like ever since Toy Story, that for the longest time as a kid, I'm like, I bet money when I do leave, they do be like hanging out and stuff and having adventure.
I know. I used to think about that.
They think they slick, but I know. Okay. Max Steel be hanging out with my sister's Barbies. All right, I just gotta catch them in the act.
I want to abandon you.
Would you ever like close the door really slowly and then open it real fast?
I never did that because I watched Chucky as a child. I didn't want to know if my toys were alive.
That's a good point.
But
yeah.
I will give you that scene. Yeah, really hits me. And honestly, now as an adult, after losing my pet, it hits me even harder. So like that, I think it's more the song. That song.
It is. It's the song. If that song wasn't a part of it.
It's all the song and makes you feel far too much.
It does.
This podcast ended weird.
I would be remiss though
if
we don't, before we end this, if I don't mention at least one Miyazaki film, because Miyazaki is incredible.
Oh wow, oh my gosh.
And so I love Howl's Moving Castle. That's my favorite one I've watched so far. I still gotta watch the rest of them. And they're on HBO Max. So if you haven't seen any of Hayao Miyazaki's films, watch them on HBO Max. The whole collection's there. But Howl's Moving Castle is the bomb.com. I love that film.
Mine was Kiki's Delivery Service, and they used to always play that on Disney Channel like all the time, and I would catch it on there. And I love that movie. I love the cat in it. Kiki was great. And they just released a really fancy book based on the Miyazaki films, and it's like Miyazaki a history, and it looks really nice. So yeah.
I just, I know there's there might be someone listening to this who'd be like, they didn't even mention a single Miyazaki film. He makes the greatest animated films. Like, all right, look, we got you.
That's exactly how they're going to
we got you.
We mentioned a few. The films are great.
I assume you haven't seen any.
I have not.
It's okay.
I wrote it down. It's on the list. It's on my list.
It's on the list.
Yeah, you could take your time. Take your time.
I'm literally going to create a poster board of childhood films I should have seen. Is that considered childhood film? The Howling Castle and
Howl's Moving Castle? Yeah.
Howling or Howls?
Howl. Because he's a character. He's a person.
Oh.
Howl's Moving Castle. I also still want to see Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, My Neighbor Totoro. Like they're all
one of my when I was working in marketing, one of my coworkers dressed up as Miyazaki for Halloween. And it was amazing. Yeah.
Cool. Also, I know I said that was the last one, but this one is also the last one. And this deals with Halloween. We can't leave without talking about Nightmare Before Christmas. That movie's a classic. Love that movie.
Aren't they making like a sequel?
I don't think so. If they are, that's weird. That's
a weird,
I think they have, weird one to make a sequel of.
No, yeah, hold on. Well, no, continue with your commentary.
Well, I love that film. I love the way it addresses, because there really isn't a lot of because in a world where there's like so many horror movies that you watch on Halloween, it's like, what about the kids though? What do they gotta watch? And then Nightmare Before Christmas comes around, and it's like, outside of like Charlie Brown's Pumpkin, Great Pumpkin, like that's like the one. And even then, I think that's more Thanksgiving than it is Halloween, right?
Long Live the Pumpkin Queen.
Oh, so they are making
it's a book. It's a book.
Oh, it's a book. Okay.
I think it's a book.
But yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas is incredible. Also, some of my other favorite Tim Burton hits are like Frankenweenie is pretty good, and then also Corpse Bride. I like Corpse Bride. I think it's so.
I don't know. They kind of got like tiring because it's the same main character over and over.
He does have a very like similar style, so everything always looks the same.
No,
even his live action.
No, his similar style, yes, but no, it's literally the same character over and over, just different age ranges, except for like Jack Skellington. It was a sad, creepy, skinny, lanky-armed man who was misunderstood by his peers, which honestly just sounds like every creep that tried to hit on me once. So that might be something why I'm not a fan of it.
Well, I'm thinking of Tim Burton. Let me ask you guys this. Do you guys consider James and the Giant Peach an animated film or a live action film?
Both.
I've never seen it.
I think we talked about this and you said you hadn't seen it yet. I would say it's both. It's basically the first, when he goes into the peach, it's animated. But the first,
I always consider it like an animated film because like majority of the film is him and that peach. Yeah. And then like the live action.
But I still remember
in the beginning.
I still remember the end. I mean, I still remember the beginning because those the mom, or was it were they aunts? It was his aunts, right?
Mm-hmm.
His aunts, they were terrifying, like as characters.
They're very scary.
So quick question about James and the Giant Peach. At the end, I'm aware of the ending because people don't leave me alone because they always tell me the plot. You haven't seen it? Well, this is what happens. I'm aware he goes to live in the pit of the peach. He like carves a house in it, right?
Yes, I believe he does. He makes a house out of the peach.
Is it animation at the end? Doesn't he live with the bugs?
I thought he goes to New York at the end, right?
Or does yeah, well, he lands there, but I think the peach stays. Like they just make a house out of it.
Oh yeah, it gets bigger or something.
Right, it gets huge. Yeah.
What about the bugs he makes friends with? Are they huge?
I can't remember. I can't remember if they come up at the end. I gotta rewatch it. This is an excuse to go rewatch James and the Giant Peach.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Also, Iron Giant. Hold on. I'm just gonna rattle off some last ones that I want to make sure we get in there.
Okay, Iron Giant. You have 1 minute.
Hold on. Okay.
You have 1 minute. 60 seconds.
Iron Giant, amazing. Pokemon movie, first movie, fantastic. Hold on. Now I'm being timed. The pressure's on. Animatrix, watch that. You get a chance. Hold on. I got more. Fantastic Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs. Wes Anderson makes some pretty great animated movies. You should check them out if you haven't checked those out. Dang it. I'm trying to think of other ones that we haven't hit yet because we hit a lot.
Halfway through.
The Wild Thornberrys movie. Watch that if you get a chance.
Hey Arnold the movie.
Hey Arnold the movie. Pretty decent.
I do want to watch that.
Powerpuff Girls movie. Really good. Despite what other people might say. I like that movie.
15 seconds.
I think that's it. I think those are like the last like outliers that we didn't get to that I think should be mentioned because they're really good. In my opinion, I really enjoy them. So there we go. There. Now we can end.
All right.
And you had 2 seconds to spare. Okay. Right. Social medias.
Socials.
I'll go first this time. You can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. Alex, where can we find you?
I am at Alex and Nobody on Instagram. Mostly. I also run the podcast TikTok account where you can see little bits of the shows, funny interactions, and just other little things I post when I'm bored. And it's called The First Ones to Die. What about you, Jerome?
You can find me at Not Jerome Rhett on Instagram as well as at RoboZoo Media. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, comment below. Let us know what you thought. Also, if you have your own favorite animated movies that maybe we didn't mention or the ones we did mention that you want to like shout out and be like, this is my favorite movie. This is what I grew up watching. Comment down below. Let us know what those are. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, let me know. I'm going to build a childhood list now. Apparently all the movies I never got to.
Well, a lot of these
also, I'm sure someone's going to mention Fern Gully. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to go into that.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't want to know.
You don't know Fern Gully?
Okay, and where you can find the podcast and all other The First Ones to Die. Instagram, Twitter, again, TikTok, and you can shoot us off an email. You can go ahead and explain what that is in an email, because Jerome mainly reads those. I think Jonathan takes me. I never look at them. I don't want to know.
Ooh, 50 goes west. Also good.
Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
I'm gonna be in the shower tomorrow thinking about, I should have said this movie.